What? Why didn't they ask, who are you? Oh, they make big money. Let's just be her. She's got cool face paints. I don't really want to have to add anything. Alright, so...
You better get some gear.
Shut up, man. I'm talking. Okay, welcome to the Mouse and Keyboard episode 3. Today we're going to be talking about the things that are holding us back in life. Okay, being your own worst enemy. As you can see, there may be some degree of a theme with some of these episodes that I've sort of been churning out, but it's not that I personally feel that I'm my worst enemy, but I definitely think there are ways that I don't help myself. But I wanted to start this episode by telling a short story. It's not like a fable or whatever. It's just something that happened to me recently. But also, as you can see, I'm playing Skyrim. My goal is I'm going to try and maybe just like collect the Dragonstone or whatever it's called. I don't know, I'll do something. I've just put it on Adept, by the way, so it's not going to be difficult or anything. Basically, I recently met a woman at my workplace who, she's in her 50s, I want to say. That would be sort of a guess just based on what she told me about her life. But she was one of the most interesting women or people I've ever spoken to. So I'm just going to go into a little bit of detail as to why and how it relates to today's topic. One of the first things that this woman said to me, I'll call her a Jane. She's a Jane Doe. Just for the sake of this podcast, I'll call her Jane. I was working on a project that she was a part of, and so we started talking and had some time to chat before actually starting to get to work on this project. Okay, that's the context. And Jane, one of the first things she said to me was that she used to be a musician for 20 years of her life, that she was a touring musician and she was quite successful, and that was her full-time job for 20 years. And, I was like, wow, that's really amazing, that's so interesting and like such a dream. And she said, yeah, my life is interesting, it has been really interesting. I've had a very exciting and eventful life. And it just made me think that not many people actually talk about their lives like that. Not many people outright say that they've had a really interesting life and that they are really happy with everything they've achieved, and that, that they've actually achieved a lot. Not many people are, particularly in the UK, I would say, are prepared to just sort of flex, if you will. Like, flex culture isn't really as big of a thing here so much. And I think, flex culture obviously is mostly about money and cars and belongings. But I'm more talking about this woman, Jane, who really was just proud of the things that she had achieved in her life and had no shame in saying that she had, a really interesting life. And it was just something that sort of caught me off guard, but like in a positive way. I was like, it was just so nice and refreshing to hear someone speak so positively about themselves, and to just sort of say that they're proud of the things that they've achieved. My point was that she had this very interesting life. She has children now, and she sort of settled down and doesn't want to be a musician anymore. She realised that she had done everything she wanted to do with that career, and has moved on to something else that she had wanted to do ever since she was a kid. The second biggest passion of hers was she was really interested in becoming a lawyer. She was really interested in law. And so she decided that, in her 50s, she was actually going to pivot her career from her very successful music career to now she's decided to start studying a law degree. And I was just thinking, it's becoming more common now than before that older people are making the decision to study and to choose to do things that maybe typically you would expect of a younger person, maybe somebody who's just graduated school or college, as in sixth form college. So yeah, she's continuing to just sort of be a little bit more like risk-takey, like she has a family and everything, but she knows that she can support them and is now making the decision to do something that maybe she wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. Had she been more risk averse? But something that was clear in sort of Jane's explanation of how she got to where she is now was that she never had any regrets, and that was something that she said. No matter when times were difficult, when she found herself struggling maybe financially due to her decisions, or if she had maybe decided to travel somewhere to gig on a whim without all of the safety nets that people may be looking for, she wouldn't have gotten to the place where she was, and she wouldn't have achieved as much as she did. So what I'm trying to say is that it seems like nothing could stop Jane, like in her life, in any decision, any career she wanted to pursue, anything she wanted to do. It seemed like nothing could stop her. She just would decide, this is something I want to pursue, and then she'd just go for it. And that is something that I am so just envious of, like an attitude that I'm envious of. And also, I don't know, it worked out for her, clearly. Obviously, most people have this sort of... you take things into account like risk, and you also want to consider that you're making the right choice based on like financial gain or what society suggests might be a good choice. But yeah, she really did just sort of pick a direction and walk. And I think that is something that I would like to embody more in my life. And that comes to the theme of today's episode of holding yourself back, being your own worst enemy, and, telling yourself things that aren't useful or productive to tell yourself. So one of the things that I want to start with is just saying that whilst I maybe haven't had quite as interesting of a life as Jane, I can't just beat myself up and say that I've done nothing or I've achieved nothing, or that, I could be doing this or that better. So, first things first, I'm not going to say that she's lived 1,000 lives and I haven't lived at all. I'm happy with how I've managed so far, and it's good to be proud of yourself. It's good to be pleased with your achievements, and to acknowledge that they're actually there, because I can compare myself to Jane, who was touring Europe from a very young age, from younger than how old I am now. Now that I actually think about it, maybe she was not younger than I am now, but it was a different time. And that comes to the next thing of like social media and how that impacts you and everything. No, why did she do that? I need to talk to her. I can't leave. I can't leave the building. Are you serious, dude? This is my go-to for a quick friend at the start of the game. So yeah, Jane is telling me about this, and I'm just thinking to myself, why can't I be more like that? Why can't I be more gung-ho, if you will? Why can't I just say, oh, I want this, I'm going to go for it? Honestly, I'm just going to go magic build and just derobe right in front of him. Why not? My point is, I should have kept the foot wraps where I'm barefoot out here. Okay, you may have seen sort of an uptick in... Actually, I don't know if it's an uptick just because it's the kind of thing I'm interacting with on social media, but I feel like I've seen quite a lot of posts that are like, it's never too late to turn your life around, or people being like, I'm 22, is it too late for me? Okay, how is that out of range? Oh, I'm 21, is it too late for me to start drawing, or is it too late for me to get into art? And obviously it's not too late. We're aware of this. But it does feel like that sometimes, when it seems that everybody's starting everything sooner or earlier in their lives than you are. I mean, it feels like you're wasting your time, and that your youth is really when you're supposed to start planting these seeds. And if you haven't already built a foundation of some degree in your sort of childhood / very, very young adulthood, like, late teens, then you're just destined for failure because you haven't sowed the seeds that will lead you to success in your 20s. And like, that is obviously a sentiment that everybody has seen everywhere online, and it's something that brings people a lot more stress than it needs to, including myself, which is why obviously I'm making this sort of episode, is because every time I make one of these, it's usually got something to do with something that I'm thinking about, something that I want to talk about. I've been seeing an uptick in these posts that are all like, guys, it's literally never too late to turn your life around. Obviously, I do agree with that down to a baseline level. Like, I do agree you can always change things up, but really talking to Jane about how she has fully decided to do that and is actively switching things up, and is being successful in doing so. I mean, she got onto her law degree and she's now studying that, and she will graduate with whatever qualification she needs. And then obviously after that, you know, it's down to what she manages to get post graduation. But still, it's something that it sort of inspired me a little bit to really just sort of get stuck in and try and do something, which I guess is another reason why I'm sort of doing this as well, while I'm trying to you know, do something that serves me in a way, but also helps me have a sort of creative outlet that I wouldn't otherwise have. So it's a good combination of those things for me. So I'm glad that I've sort of had the push to actually get started with something that interests me and gives me value as well. So yeah, essentially social media has us in this belief that life essentially ends at age 30, which we all know is not true, and there have been many, many successful people who started their careers at 30 or even later. So it's nice to have had that in-person experience of knowing somebody who's actually doing that well beyond 30 as well. And, you know, you have to accept that in no matter what you're doing or what your hobby is or what you want your career to be, there's always going to be someone who's younger than you, who started doing it earlier than you, who may even be more successful or better at it than you. And that's okay. I think you just have to accept that that's going to be the case. That doesn't mean that you can't also be successful. It just means that, you know, you're not the only person who can be successful, and we already knew that. So it's just something you have to accept as you sort of get older. There will be people younger than you. Even in your teen years, there will be people younger than you who are better at whatever it is that you're investing time to. So what are actually the barriers that stop us from making differences in our lives? You know, when we say it's never too late to change your life, or it's never too late to do something different, or whatever, what are the barriers that actually are stopping us from pursuing those things? For me personally, you know, this is something that I have mentioned in other episodes as well that I've uploaded here, but something that I constantly think about is something going to cause me financial hardship later down the line. And these are just things, you know, that you have to consider in the world that we live in, that they are just things that are important, unfortunately. And, you know, we can't all just do the things that we love all the time, because unless you're really fortunate and you're able to make money from doing those things, but you can't spend your entire day doing something that doesn't allow you to then live a comfortable life outside of it. Wow, this guy's healthy, no? Not very strong though. Yeah, get him, Fendal. Yup. Too right. Oh, he's feeling himself. Look at him. He's a bit scary, you know? Oh, I'll put the shoes on. Yep, I'll take those. Thank you. Right. Now we're dripped out. Let's level up. We're going to do magic because that ran out really quickly, and then we're just going to pump on into destruction. Snake, dolphin. I don't know if that's actually a dolphin, but it kind of looks like one. So not only is it financial hardship, but there's always an internal battle of like, is this even something you really want to do? Is this something that you want to do for the right reasons? You know, there's so many things that you have to think about, and the people who are doing things for the right reasons will find it much easier to lock in, you know, to actually really commit themselves to something, because if you're just doing it for money, as we know, if you're not passionate about something, it's going to be quite difficult to devote yourself to it. Now, I think that's the thing though, is, oh my goodness, that was more damage than I was expecting. Oh wow. That was unexpected, no? Ow. Oh my goodness. Probably should have kept a weapon, but I didn't, so... What's he doing? Oh. Faendal. Yup. Okay, that thing just nearly takes you all the way out. That's so interesting. So, alongside the idea of financial hardship, and also that figuring out what I actually want to do and why I want to do it and why I would commit myself to something, it's really challenging to actually go, how do I spend these next 5 to 10 years? What do I work towards? Because it can feel really difficult when your only goal is to make enough to get by and do all of the things that you want to do. Because then once you have that and, you have the means, what if the means are not enough? Because obviously that's enough, but what if, you want more? What if there's something that you want to be doing, but for some reason you're just not doing it? And then, let's use an example just because it makes it more difficult when we're just sort of speaking vaguely. Let's say you want to be a musician like Jane, but you think, well, I would have to commit so much time to not only honing my craft, getting better at an instrument, but I would also have to spend a lot of time, I shouldn't have done that. But I would also have to spend a lot of time trying to look at the business aspect of things and actually consider how to approach this from a business perspective to make this something that you can do long term, and commit yourself to without risk of financial ruin. So I think for me personally, I'm not that I want to be a musician, but in terms of just like any career goals, it's really difficult because there's also another degree of, if you haven't had to do that as your career for a long time, well, if you realise that in doing it as a means of making money, that it actually sucks the joy out of it, or that you no longer actually enjoy it. And there's so many of these what ifs that it makes you realise that the only way to actually know is to do it. The only way to know if it was worth it or not is to give it a go, and you're going to regret more not tried than you would regret it going wrong. And so it's always something that's worth giving a go. And this is something that takes a long time to get to terms with, because you could think that about everything. You're not going to have unlimited opportunities to try something with the potential that it might fail. You'll have as many opportunities as you can afford, under the parameters of needing money and also spending time with loved ones and all the other things that you have to balance in life. But, truly the only way to know if you're holding yourself back from something is to stop holding yourself back and just do it. But obviously, easier said than done. I mean, I feel like I'm quite I do fall victim to this sort of like, I don't give myself the freedom to try things. I don't want to try something and fail. I only want to try something and succeed, and that's the issue, is you have to go into anything with the expectation that you could very well fail, and that it's not necessarily unlikely that you'll fail, because failure rate should be higher than success rate. That's how it works. You learn from your failures. Everyone knows this. So why you would ever expect your success rate to be higher and then be disappointed that it's not, is it's a self-defeating attitude. It's not going to serve you. And so then comes the questions of like, how do you then decide which things to pursue? Is it worth the work and the sacrifice? Or are you even like a career-driven person to begin with? Is that something that like means a lot to you, that you would make sacrifices for? Aw, he's stuck. Poor guy. I feel bad. Is committing yourself to something going to be worth it in the end? And I think the point to make is that it's okay if it's not. So if you commit yourself to something and realise, I don't actually like this. Yes, there is the challenge of knowing that you invested time, money and energy into something and it didn't work out for even just the reason that you didn't actually end up enjoying it. That can be almost more difficult, because if you think you're still capable of doing it, but you just don't like doing it, then you can sort of force yourself to do it and then end up just sort of being not so happy or like regretting your decision. But, I mean, you wouldn't know otherwise. So I think it's just a case of you have to try things. So I think if you are feeling that you're missing something and that you do need to make a change, you absolutely do just need to do it, because otherwise you will be just endlessly wondering what could have happened. And nobody wants that. Nobody wants to be stuck in this headspace of like, oh, if only I'd done this, if only I'd done this. Because you can say, oh, if only I had started younger, if only I'd started working on this younger, maybe I'd be successful now. I think it's just two on each, isn't it? It always is. But yeah, so you need to start now. If you're thinking, oh, I wish I'd started this sooner, there's no point in starting now because I'm not going to have the edge that I would have had I started sooner or earlier. But if you don't start at all, then that's even worse. And then you're just going to continue thinking, oh, well, if only I'd started when I was 15, I'd be successful now. And then when you're 25, you'll be like, oh, if only I'd started when I was 20, I'd be successful now. And then when you're 30, you'll be thinking, if only I started when I was 25, I'd be successful now. And you're going to continue doing that until you don't have the option to be successful anymore, because you just can't fit in this sort of journey in your life anymore. And so there's absolutely no reason not to start now. You're the only person who is dictating whether or not you're not dictating necessarily whether or not you'll be successful entirely. You are obviously responsible for your own success to a degree. If you're doing all the things that you need to be doing, then some things may be out of your hands and there may be a degree of luck to it. Absolutely. But at least you will know that you did your best, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you did all that you could, and you can now like comfortably with the peace of mind, knowing that you did what you could, move on to something else. And I think that's what it is. You'll always be stuck if you don't do something, because you'll always want to do that one thing. You'll always want to be a musician, and you won't want to try anything else before you try that. And then if you never try that, you won't try anything. So I think, like, the key point I'm trying to make is obviously, yeah, try things. But on top of that, try things and don't rob yourself the chance to try things. Don't even think about it for long enough that you've lost time, because then you're going to be worried, oh, I spent this last year thinking about this when I could have just done it, or started. Even if the steps are small. So this is the next thing I'd like to say is take the smallest step that you can do in that very moment. Anything that you can do to get you even like 0.0000001% closer to your goal, do it. It's so much easier to take things in bite-sized chunks. Like, you need to start small. You can't do everything at once. And like, this seems like really simple advice, but I think it even comes down to, you will have these big ideas. You'll want to do all of these things. And, part of you knows deep down that you could achieve that if you really buckled down and put your mind to it and invested all the time to it. But you also have to be realistic and realize that you might not be able to invest all of the time and energy and maybe even money into it right now. So you need to start small so that you can build on it. You need to build on pre-existing foundations. You can't, Rome wasn't built in a day, guys. Come on. So say you want to become a musician, for example. Instead of writing a song, recording a song, releasing a song, doing promo, trying to book gigs, and trying to do that all at once, even take one of those steps slowly. You want to write a song, but it takes a lot of time and emotional energy. Write one line, or write down a concept, for a song, or just write down 4 chords that you would like to work into a song at some point. But a problem with this is there does have to come a day where you do something with that. It's always worse to work on something and try and perfect it and try and make this perfect product, which, by the way, is almost impossible because you're always going to find problems with the things that you make or things that you wish were better. But let's say you spend all this time trying to perfect something, but you don't have the energy anymore to finish it, or you don't have the energy anymore to go and promote it, so nobody ever hears it, even though it's amazing and perfect. Nobody will ever hear your song because you no longer have the energy or the funds or the resources in general just to actually complete that part of the puzzle. And that's fine, because that's art, like, you can make some, this is obviously, when you're talking about music, that's an art form, so there's a little bit more nuance to it. You're making something that you're proud of, and therefore you do want to perfect it, and it's about your expression and output rather than how it's received. But let's look at it from the standpoint of, you're holding yourself back because you know that you can't afford to do it. Then don't do it perfectly. You can do it just okay. You don't even have to do it well. Just do it okay that you can get started, Just do something. you can always save your magnum opus, so to speak, for later on. And if you find that you're not finding success in taking little steps, then maybe you can just sort of devote yourself to that. If that's what's important to you, is making that masterpiece, then that's the goal. Then you don't need to worry about the promo. Okay, you've already achieved your goal when you make something that you're really proud of. But if you are looking at it from a perspective, I want a music career, not that I want to make amazing art, but I want to turn that into a way to actually support myself financially, then you do have to start small. Unless you're going to make an absolute banger straight off the bat and then just make banger after banger and have a long-lasting, successful career, that's not likely in the grand scheme of things, as we know. That's just not most likely going to happen. If you start any other business that isn't selling your personality or selling your art expression, say you're trying to just sell an actual product, like you're selling cars or something, you're not going to go out and buy every expensive sports car under the sun, and try and flip cars and I don't know. This was a terrible example. You know what I mean though. You're not going to get all of the inventory in the world and then not invest into any other parts of the business because you've got the product. People obviously just buy it, right? But you also need to make yourself look credible, and you need to build foundations. You need to get your name out. You need to do all of these things. But you've already used all your resources on the first part, getting the cars. That was a terrible example. That was a real just trash analogy. But hopefully you understand my point. I don't think I've seen this one before, no? Oh, you mean this old stone? Yo. Where is he running off to, man? Relax. Oh, straight into it. Alright, so I did say my goal was to kill the dragon, didn't I? Is that what I said? Okay, my goal is to defeat the first dragon in this podcast episode. So I think for me, that's why I said in a previous episode that even though I do really enjoy video editing, I don't have the time to highly edit these videos and make them as flashy or funny or whatever as I want them to be, because I don't have the resources to commit to that right now. If I could spend more time on this, I would love to do that, but I just cannot do that right now. And I think that for me was the biggest thing holding me back, is every time I would try to start an endeavor like this, I would want to commit everything to it. I would want to make the best video edits. I'd want to do I would want to make an insane amount of content. I would want to just churn out so much stuff, but it would burn me out so quickly because I could not afford to be doing that at that time whilst also managing all of my other responsibilities in life. So I start small. Here's just me, talking and then doing some very basic cutting here and there, and that's going to be the product. And then maybe later down the line that changes, maybe it improves, the production value goes up, but as of right now, that's where we're at. And I'm actually enjoying doing this. I feel like before, where I would try and invest loads of time into something, I would actually start to become anxious. I mean, dread is a strong word, but whatever a weaker word for dread is, when it came to the idea of having to try and make more things, because I didn't have it in me to do the whole shebang, and I didn't want to then drop the production value of something because, I'd set this standard for myself. Therefore, I just wouldn't do it because I knew I couldn't meet that standard anymore. I would just stop. And that's another project uncompleted. I feel like I am just the queen of incomplete projects. I have so many projects that I've started and just never continued, or so many ideas that I've got on the groundworks laid out for and never decided to pursue, that I've invested time, energy into, and maybe even a bit of money here and there. And it's just never been something that I've actually done long term because I've set the standard too high for myself, that I cannot keep it up. Because you have to also go in with the expectation that you're not going to be successful for a while. I know for a fact that nobody's ever going to see this. Well, not for a fact necessarily, but, I have good reason to believe that nobody's ever going to see this. In the wise words of Kenny Beats, don't overthink shit. Overthinking is the enemy to progress. Personal progress. Obviously, there are things and cases in which you do have to think about consequences when they affect other people, but when it comes to something that you want and that you want, maybe you don't know why you want it yet, or maybe you don't know what exactly it is you're getting out of it, but if you know that you want it, just try it, and you might figure out along the way what it is that you're actually doing it for. You want to figure out what it is that is actually important to you, and also what it is that your body is rejecting about the idea. Why are you stopping yourself? Why are you holding yourself back? But there really is no reason to stop yourself from doing something harmless. I mean, I say harmless in the fact that, in the way that it's, if it goes wrong at most, you've spent maybe a small amount of your savings and you've spent some time and energy. And yes, that's going to be really difficult to come to terms with, something not working out and you having invested hard-earned money into it and time and effort and all these things. But the alternative is what? That you never try, that nothing ever happens in your life because you're too afraid of failure. I do no damage to this guy. This game was so monumental for when it came out. Oh my goodness. This must have been so epic in 2011. Come on, look at that. Look at him go. Okay, well. It is a little bit of its time, but it looks so good for that time. I mean, everything's going to be of its time. It's kind of the point of the saying. Nah, it's low-key epic, though. Alright. Well, I completed my challenge for today's episode, so I'm quite happy about that, but I felt like there were things that I wanted to cover about this topic that I just didn't say. I think the takeaways that I want people to have are, gas yourself up, be proud of your achievements, and don't minimize your achievements. Don't act like you haven't achieved anything or that you've been unsuccessful every time. Be proud of your skills as well. Be proud of the things that you are good at. And, don't hold yourself back. If you know you can do something but you get frustrated that you haven't been able to do it yet, keep trying. Because if you know you can do something, you will be able to do it. If deep down you know this is something you were meant to do or something you were always supposed to at least give a really solid try, do not stop yourself from doing that. There is nothing to gain from saying, oh, well, I could try that, but it would be a bit risky, and so, I'm not going to give it a go because I would be out, a couple grand, and I wouldn't be able to recoup those costs. I mean, if you really think that you won't be able to recoup those costs and you can't set any money aside, then that's understandable. It is difficult. These things, these risks, they have impact, and there will be ways that it negatively impacts your life if it doesn't go the way that you planned. But at least when it's done, you can say, okay, well, I tried. Now to move on to something else. Or to maybe give it another go from a different angle. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So there's nothing wrong with failing. Gas yourself up. Never hold yourself back. Don't regret anything. I mean, not anything, within reason. Don't ever regret trying. Never regret putting energy into something that you believed in. I think those are the key takeaways, and I would never want anyone to listen to this and think that, oh, I should just try something and, who cares what the risks are? I'm just going to be careless with my decisions and just go do something a little bit wacky. Obviously that's not the point. The point is, if you have the means, even if there will be, consequences to failure, even if you will be out maybe some money, or maybe you haven't been able to see your friends quite as much as you usually can, if it's something that those sort of risks are outweighed by the potential for reward from pursuing this path, it's absolutely worth it. Bro's following me, little freak. I'm not talking about Faendal. I literally asked this guy to follow me. I'm talking about the other guy. Okay. Thane %. I think I deserve a reward, yeah. 2, right. Does every guard who shot at the dragon get a reward as well? Because, bro, I'm all about the people, what can I say? I think as well, I say be your own worst enemy, but don't let other people be your enemy as well. Don't let other people bring you down or tell you that you can't do something, or be an example of something that you want to achieve that seems so vastly out of your reach that you don't even try. Don't let an example set by somebody else influence your decision to pursue something or not. Not everybody's going to be Taylor Swift, but you can almost guarantee that you'd be more than happy not being Taylor Swift and being, a fraction as successful as she is. I mean, success is oftentimes measured in monetary value, isn't it? So it's oftentimes measured by how much money somebody makes or how many streams they get on their songs or whatever your field is. But if you feel successful, you may feel really successful just from having like a couple of local gigs and a couple of people buy like a CD that you made. And that is completely valid, and that could make you feel even more fulfilled than how Taylor Swift feels when she gets 1 million streams on a song, because she's set the expectations so high at this point that, you know, not only does it feel like nothing could reach that anymore, but also the feeling that it gives you could be equal to, say, the first time Taylor Swift ever got 1 million streams on a song. The amount of gratification that gave her could be equal to the amount, like, genuinely, like, chemically, but also just, like, you know, in terms of how you feel emotionally about the situation. It could really make you feel like you've done well, and you should be proud of yourself. How much money do I have? I want to buy a house. Wow, a fifth of how much I need. It's a bit tough. Let's go give the claw back to that man. I don't know, people should just be more open to opportunity and open to putting themselves out there. I think a lot of people are also afraid of just being judged for something. And that is something I think about all the time. Like, I don't want to put myself out there and try something new or try something risky, because if it goes wrong, then I'll be embarrassed. And I don't want to tell people that I'm trying something, because then I have to worry about them asking about it, or I have to hold myself accountable for completing something when, you know, there's, in my record at least, there's a very good chance that I won't complete something. I think it's really challenging, because you will... I think there are sometimes things people really sort of value winning in silence, or winning, being successful without having to flex, or, you know, like, maybe flex is the wrong word, but let people know that you're successful. And whilst I personally do practice this, I personally don't like to tell people when I've done something that I'm proud of, just because I don't want them to set an expectation that I'm going to continually do things that people would be impressed by. It's less so that I want to, I don't want to flex. Like, obviously that's a big part of it as well. I don't want people to think that I'm trying to rub anything in their faces or whatever. But more than anything, it's that I don't want them to think that I'm doing really well, and then something happens and I'm not doing very well, and then they see that sort of fall from grace. I'd rather start low in their minds and end low than start high and end low. It seems stupid, and it is somewhat not a productive way to think, but if I were to have a big success in something, I would want to wait until it's something that I've been doing for a while and that has been continually successful before I let people know about it. Which I think is quite normal, really, because you don't want, as I said, you don't want people to see that you're trying something and then you have to deal with the embarrassment, even though it's not warranted and you shouldn't feel embarrassed for something not being successful. I think it's just natural. You're going to feel embarrassed that you tried something and it didn't work out. And I think it's okay to feel that way, but it's not. But we know it's not going to help us in any way or provide us any value. But you have to accept that is the reality of the situation. Putting yourself out there comes with the risk of people knowing that you're trying something. But you don't want to isolate yourself, because then that makes it more difficult to achieve things sometimes. Everyone knows a problem shared is a problem halved. What the heck is going on up here? Yo! Well, who are you, man? Was he a prisoner? Like, why is he just, owned these guards? I kind of want that tunic, though, no? I want that tunic, low-key. When am I ever going to run into this guy again? That's messed up. Let me see what's in his pockets. Yo. He can't see me right now, so I might just... Oh. Okay, he's quite strong, actually. I thought he didn't see me when he disappeared. I thought he didn't see me when I started the pickpocket. Obviously, I was wrong. Brief history of the Empire. What is bro cooking? That's got to make something, though, because otherwise why would he have that? Alright, that's that sorted. I think as well, you got to be realistic with your timescale for anything that you try to pursue. And realistic, yeah, just with what you can manage. Everyone knows the sort of, what's it called, smart targets. Now, smart targets don't work for me because my brain doesn't work very rigidly. I can't really adhere to things like that very closely, but what is this stone? You know, smart targets do work for a lot of people, and I think they do make sense. Oh. God, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here. I wasn't trying to start beef. I don't want this smoke dripped out as well. Like, come on. That's actually hard. Okay. Should I activate this? That's not going to get rid of my other stone, is it? Mage stone. Oh, it does. Alright. You know what? We're going to go and change that back later on. Not now. What does that mean then? Do I get a new power or something? Oh. Should we try it on this storm cloak? That's kind of messed up. I want a wolf pack. Alright. Alright, lads. Squad roll out. Get him, guys. Oh, they are. Yup. I think it's a degree of like moving on instinct. It's not about making impulsive decisions and doing things just because you think in the moment, oh, I'd like to try that, let's just do it. You do obviously have to think about things. But there is a degree of like, you have to get to a point where you actually think, have I overthought this a bit too much? Am I really just sort of overanalyzing this situation? Or should I just try something small? If you're really worried about risk, then do everything you can to mitigate the risk by starting small. I think that's really just the one piece of advice that I have. And I'm not even one who takes that advice myself. I still try and do too much all at once, and then get burnt out. But it's something that I would definitely recommend, and I'm trying to practice more now. No way that kills me. I really thought I was going to survive that fall. Wow, okay, that's a good time to end it, actually. And you know what, it works out because I didn't want the ritual stone anyway. That's fine. You know what, actually works out really well. I didn't want the ritual stone, whatever. Haha, yeah, that's perfect. In conclusion, don't listen to social media when it tells you that that you can't start something late, or that, you know, don't use the, oh, there's always someone younger than you doing it better than you thing as a deterrent. Don't let that stop you from doing anything. Don't overanalyze things. Start small, accept that there will be some risk involved and that, you know, that may come with the chance that you might fail. Accept that failure is usually more common than success, so it's part of the success story is failing. Don't stick with something if it's not, you know, something that you think you're going to actually want to pursue. Don't invest time and energy into something that's just going to burn you out and cause you to stop doing anything. Also, don't regret trying. Never regret trying something. 400 is such a scam. I'm taking this money on your desk, bro. And these. And that. I can't believe he lets me take that, but he doesn't let me take the other things. That's not what I meant to do. Hey, man. Oh, he just takes it and puts it back. Oh, that's my goat, actually. Is he going to put it back? I usually steal all the claws and then put them on display in like my house or something, but I can't be bothered to do that. Okay, so, I mean, this one was a little bit... I tried to structure it better, but maybe I just realised that I didn't actually have as many things to say as I wanted to, and that's okay. Like, I think I got my main points in there. I hope that this was at least somewhat useful. I think this is specifically what you're watching now is an example of somebody who's trying to put the things that I've spoken about today into practice in the exact form that you're actually receiving it in is me trying to do those things. So... I hope that like this is somewhat inspiring to just give something a go, because I have no doubt that if you have somehow stumbled across this, it's not widely successful already, because it's not going to be. And I've invested, you know, several hours into this now because, you know, all the parts, the moving parts that go into making this happen, they take some time to build up. So there has been some degree of investment into this, and we'll just see where it goes. And I'm not saying that I'm expecting it to be a massive thing. I would just like really just to have chats with people who are sort of going through similar things to what I'm talking about in this podcast. So that's kind of the idea for it now. The reason why I feel confident that I'm going to keep going at this is because it's actually something that like interests me, and it's something that matters to me and is important to me. So yeah, that's the hope. But anyway, thank you so much for listening and watching if you watched. Though I didn't really achieve too much. I did sort of what I set out to do, but other than that, it's been pretty standard Skyrim gameplay. I hope that this was at least somewhat helpful, and if not, then please let me know in the comments. Just let me know what you thought in general. Let me know what you think of the format, how I can improve it. That's another thing. You have to be open to taking feedback. You have to be open to nothing being perfect straight off the bat. Yeah, thank you so much, and take care.